The New York Times picking up after another trip up this week. It involves this new book titled The Education of Brett Kavanaugh. A book adaptation that was published in the Sunday Review section last weekend left out some key information. There was also an inappropriate tweet about it that caused an apology from the Times. Here to talk about that are the authors of the book, Pogrebin and Kate Kelly. The book is The Education of Brett Kavanaugh. And this is a fascinating book, and I want to start by saying there's so much nuance in this book if people buy it and read it in detail. But there was this adaptation in the paper last weekend that left out information about new accusations against Kavanaugh. Here's what the editor's note later said. It said the book reports that the female student who was in the center of this declined to be interviewed, and friends say that she does not recall the incident where Kavanaugh allegedly harassed her. That information was belatedly added to your all's article. So what went wrong here? It seems to me that your initial adaptation set a narrative. The narrative was, there is new damning evidence against Brett Kavanaugh. But then this editor's note undermined that new claim.
Yes, and we think it's unfortunate that that has upstaged the new claim and some of the good work, which thank you for acknowledging it, that we feel like we've done in this book in presenting a much more nuanced, complex account of these events that flew by in real time last year. And basically what happened was that we had a line in the book where we did name the victim, and we also had the fact that her friends say she doesn't remember it. The editors felt it was best to take out because we don't typically name victims in the New York Times. When they took it out, the whole sentence was omitted. So when we realized that, they put it back, they wrote an editor's note, and they acknowledged the omission.
When you say victim, others would say only accuser.
Exactly.
Because there isn't
the alleged victim. That's right.
It's worth noting also that a television reporter spotted her this week at her house and asked questions about it, and she said words to the effect of, if you have questions, ask Brett. So it's been redirected back to him by her, and we feel like this is a valuable new piece of information that we're trying to put out there. And the reason we thought it was credible is we have a credible witness, a Washington person named Max Steyer, who runs this good governance organization, says he saw this and reported it to the Senate and the FBI last year. This is something that's new to our book, and there's much more detail and context around it inside. So we urge people to actually read the whole thing. But obviously that was a regrettable omission. So
she says, ask Brett. You all tried to speak with Kavanaugh. He set terms for an interview. And what happened with that? Because there's been some controversy about that as well.
You know, we just couldn't come to an agreement about the ground rules, is the simple fact. We wanted to talk to him on the record for the book, or at least in some usable way where his information could inform the book. And it was important to him that we say he declined to be interviewed, and we just couldn't do that if there was going to be any sort of a conversation at all about what was in the book.
So in other words, if a source wants to talk to you only in secret, you cannot then say he declined to talk.
Certainly not if they're at the center of the book.
Yeah, I mean, I think that we all know, Brian, that we have sources who we talk to on background and off the record, and they inform our reporting. This was a different case where he's the subject of the book. To talk to him and say we didn't talk to him felt dishonest.
But just to jump in on something here, Brian, we feel like all of this stuff this week, while there are some valid issues that have been raised and addressed, are really a distraction from all the reporting that we did and all the new material that we have. It's really sort of an attempt to discredit the messenger and avoid the conversation about the facts, about the evidence, the type of thing you've been talking about on your show, how the media becomes this punching bag. So, for example, one thing that's gone on is there's some interesting stuff in our book about Leland Kaiser, this friend of Christine Blasey Ford's, who was allegedly at the party where the alleged assault by Kavanaugh occurred. She gives us her first ever interview.
Right.
It's interesting and worth a read, and it was very much a part of the behind-the-scenes drama going on last year, which is coming to light. However, we still find Christine Blasey Ford credible in the end, and if you read our book, you will see why. Kaiser's claims really don't rebut Blasey Ford's claims. And also, Kaiser has memory issues that are discussed in the book as well, which relate to the way memory functions for all of us, and also because she has a history of substance abuse, which she acknowledges. So I think it's important for all of these things to be seen in the full context. We wanted to share it all with readers so they could evaluate it for themselves.
And now Trump is using this misstep last weekend as a battering ram against the New York Times. So are people on Fox News. What's that feel like?
It's a convenient target.
What's that feel like, Robin, as a reporter at the New York Times?
You know, it's kind of amazing because you hear about it all the time, and certainly our colleagues have been subject to it, but it just really points up how all of this, these facts are kind of taken out of context and then weaponized for people's own political ends. And we think it's really unfortunate because it obscures the actual hard work that we're doing in trying to actually put the facts out there so that people can really make an assessment on the merits.
And one thing that's become really clear, Brian, is that the FBI investigation, in the view of many Americans and many people who care about fair process, was too short and too limited in scope. You have Sheldon Whitehouse calling for a further investigation into the investigation. You have Jennifer Rubin of the Washington Post calling for something similar. I think there's a desire to make sure, number one, that we have thorough information about Kavanaugh, and we probably have more of that in our book than anybody has seen heretofore, but also to make sure that the Senate judiciary confirmation process, the nomination and confirmation process to the Supreme Court in this country is fair and is thorough. And
Everybody
that's
should
really
want that.
what we're trying to help with here.
Everybody should want that.